and this is Geek Tank.
Your pit of chocolate sized podcast. How big is a pit for chocolate? Depends on how
I
much
don't
you like
know.
chocolate.
I like chocolate. That's a lot of chocolate.
It'd be a big pit.
It would. And I mean, granted, I'd go with that over the pit of despair.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Pit
I couldn't even think of how to escape that.
Pit of despair is that cheap chocolate,
That is kind of, yeah.
that generic chocolate.
I'm going to say as I grow older, I become more discerning about chocolate. It's true.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
How you
Well,
been?
I, I am back from the depressing lands, I guess.
Yeah, we didn't see each other on Friday.
Yeah, yeah, we have to. So, um, as many folks know, that all the people who are on this show, all our guests, are all the viewers right now, they're all aware of these things. You see,
Mm-hmm.
um, there's no viewers,
There's nobody there.
there's nobody there. Um, yeah, so I just spent the last weekend at the Amachi retreat, which is an annual retreat for the survivors of Camp Amachi. For those of you who are not aware, Camp Amachi was one of the 9 internment camps that were put all over America. Um, that during World War II, they had placed uh, Japanese Americans during that time. Most of the people in those internment camps were U.S. citizens. They were not Japanese at all, and that's part of kind of the horror of the internment camps was there was a mass sweeping up of people in California and Seattle and Oregon, or I'm sorry, Washington and Oregon, not the rest of Washington, just Seattle. No, just the eastern or the western seaboard, and then they took all of those people that they'd rounded up, anyone who had a Japanese name or had any kind of connection to Japan in any way, up to and including just looking Japanese. And then they threw them into these camps where they locked them away. And Camp Amachi was actually the better of the camps because our governor at the time, Governor Carr, thought it was all BS. And he disagreed wholeheartedly with Order 9066. And he disagreed with the entire thing. He thought it was horrible and terrible and was a bad precedent. And so he let the people on Amachi travel back and forth to the city of Granada, which is about a mile away from the camp. And then so by the end of the war, there were people working in the city of Granada that from the camp. They'd get up in the morning in the camp, but then they'd go to work and work all day in Granada and go back to the camp at night. And there was quite a bit of that kind of the city at first was pretty anti-Japanese. A lot of that kind of racism that you get in kind of these camps where you get oh, I don't want to have those people next to us. But by the end of the war, they kind of really warmed up to the Japanese American internees, and kind of befriended them. And we're actually kind of sad when the camp was disbanded, in that everybody tried to go back to wherever they went to. So when we'd been there one time before. We were there last year about this time, but we didn't know about the pilgrimage when we were there. So we were there about a month before the pilgrimage. So we missed it entirely. And of course, since we're a school and we're doing this out of the school stuff, it took time for, you can't just go, well, we made that mistake, let's just go again.
Mm-hmm.
It takes so much time to plan it out. So this was the time to go do that. And we got some interviews with survivors and their descendants and all kinds of stuff. And there was quite a few people from NDK there, which was interesting. So I got to actually spend about an hour and a half to 2 hours chatting with Amanda. I haven't seen her in a while, so who's the con chair. Um, so we got to talk and catch up, and I accidentally left my cup in Jeremy's car, and all kinds of fun stuff like that. And he brought it back to me, and like all kind of the weird. It's weird to have these two worlds cross because they're two universes that in my brain are not together. And so, you know, I was with everybody doing my I'm an anthropologist work, and there was Amanda and Jeremy and folks from NDK. So that was kind of cool. Um and so it was a great experience. We made new friends, a whole bunch of buddies from this batch of Amachi survivors. Um the thing that's very interesting to me every time I go to Amachi, this was, by the way, the first time that I actually got to go inside the buildings.
Hmm.
So they've got two buildings that they have rebuilt from the original camp. Um, the camp was stripped bare, but when the camp was disbanded, up to and including some of the concrete foundations were broken up, so that the people in the city of Granada could take the concrete and make flower beds and things like that out of the concrete. Um, for the most part, when you go out to the Amachi site, it's just a big open field that you can see the concrete pads of where these buildings used to be, those that still are there and weren't broken up. But when it became a national park in 2023 or 2024, 2024, when it became a national park, they went on ahead and brought back two of the buildings to reconstruct them so you can kind of see the buildings. One there was a one guard tower was still there, so they put one of the buildings by the guard tower so you'd know what it was like to be living under the watchful eye of this guard tower. And that one still is broken up in its original form. These long buildings were partitioned off in fours, so it ended up with four rooms in each of these buildings. In each room, which was 18 feet by 22 feet, would be one family of four. There were a couple of larger buildings that could hold six in one of those partitions, but for the most part, so the larger families, if you had larger families, there were a couple of buildings could handle those. But it was, for the most part, the buildings held four people, and hello, the Magius. Oh, I'm having a hard time saying the names.
You are having a hard time.
Um, so yeah, that's the one that was very. I hadn't been in the actual what they call the barracks. I hadn't been in one of the barracks until this trip, because we went in as volunteers. And so the first thing they do is have the volunteers go out and clean out the barracks and the rec center, which is what they call the other one. The rec center is just one of the normal barracks, but without the four partitions. So, and it's because that was what it was. Block H was where everybody got together. So the rec center was the building where you would do everything. The dojos were there if you ever wanted to do martial arts, or they would get together and meet there and talk about things. Or, I guess the elementary school met there. Thanks, Jerry. But the elementary school, I guess, met there because they were going to build an elementary school and never got around to it. There was a high school in the camp, but there was no elementary school or secondary school. So I think the kids that were too young just went to the rec center, which was interesting because we actually had a survivor that we interviewed, and she remembered going to preschool in the rec center. And her thing was remembering sleeping on the blankets, because that was a big deal for her. She had her special blanket and she slept, that because she was like 4. So, the memories she has of camp are kind of 4-year-old memories sort of things. But that was really fascinating. But it's stunning to stand in one of those partitions in the barracks and think of someone living with 3 other human beings in this 18-foot by 22-foot square that had bricks for floor, and under the bricks was just dirt. So there was nothing underneath the bricks except dirt. So bugs would come up through the bricks all the time, and they were constantly having to deal with bugs, which that creeped me out because I hate bugs so much. And the walls were just clapboard, and so there was no insulation. And often they would requisition extra blankets to put the blankets up against the walls to help against the winter winds. And I keep thinking about this every time. The thing that really gets me about Amachi, and always does, is that these were Californians. I mean, everybody always talks about them being Japanese American survivors. And yes, they were ethnically Japanese, but really, all of these people, the most of them have been born in LA or Sonoma or some part of Orange County. You know what I mean? Like these are all Californians,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's what they were. They were Californians, and here they stuck them in the middle of East Colorado. You know, and that's the part that gets me every time is thinking about these poor people who most of their weather was always sunny and nice,
Mm-hmm.
and they stuck them all in Colorado's eastern plains, and it snowed, and the snow would come in between the gaps in the clapboard, and there'd be piles of snow in their little 18 by 22. You know what I mean? I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
wow. And then of course the summertime, the heat was unbearable. I mean, we were out there and it was 92 degrees, and those barracks were already cooking, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and that was brutal. And we were only there for like an hour and a half or 2 hours cleaning those barracks. But yeah, apparently, and that was the other thing. The first thing the volunteers do is clean the barracks, and they have to do it every year because the sand is so pervasive
Mm-hmm.
that it gets into those barracks and gets onto everything. And so we have to go in there and clean the windows and clean the windowsills, and get the bugs out. Apparently one year the moths got in there and infested the barracks. So we had to clean all the moths out. That did not happen this year, but that was apparently, you know what I mean? Like, and things. I was cleaning the in the main rec center. They had a wood burning stove, which isn't connected to anything anymore. Like it's not. It was just there. It's an artifact, so you can see what they had. But
Mm-hmm.
I was cleaning it because it got, of course, covered in dirt. And as I was cleaning it, this field mouse runs out from underneath it, bolts for the door. And I'm like, okay, you were just hanging out in here, huh, bro? It's like this mouse just taking, okay. So, I mean, I'm kind of,
Taking cover from the birds.
yeah, I was like, I don't blame him. I feel bad for him, but I don't, it's like that means clearly they were, that's pretty much, you think about that. The field mice must have been everywhere in everything. You couldn't have kept anything there because the mice would have gotten into it. It's just brutal. And then yesterday morning, on the way back, we stopped at the Sand Creek massacre site, and they did a ceremony there for the Amachi survivors because there's a connection between Amachi and Sand Creek, because the name Amachi is actually from a native, a Cheyenne woman who was a peacekeeper trying to broker peace. But that's why they named the camp that. It's actually technically called the Grenada Relocation Camp because it's near the city of Grenada. But it became known as Amachi because of the high school that was
Mm-hmm.
there. So the high school was named after her, and so the camp got named after her. So there's been this connection between the Cheyenne and Camp Amachi for this entire time as well. But the Sand Creek massacre site is north of it by about an hour between Denver and there. So usually, if you're flying out of, like we get all these people who come in for the pilgrimage and they fly into DIA, and it's 2 hours down from DIA. So, you're driving on 287 and there's nothing around. I mean, like literally nothing. And so you finally get to Amachi, and about an hour short of that, halfway, a little over halfway the distance there, is this Sand Creek Massacre site. And they're both national parks. So the Park Service runs those two, Old Bent's Fort, and there's the one that's in North New Mexico. It's a Canyonlands thing, but they've got these four that are all in one loop. That's fascinating. Um, so anyway, that was a depressing but awesome weekend, you know.
Mhm.
And meeting all those people was great. Like I met some interesting folks, some really cool people. Um, and it's I had one of those moments where we were sitting a lady down to get her interview and everything, and we were getting her mic'd up and putting the cameras on there, and I was talking about something, and she had said a couple of words in Japanese, but I didn't, I didn't. She was very funny because she was very much a very outgoing, open person. She actually was staying at the same hotel as we were, so we had already run into her a couple of times, and so we kind of knew her pretty well. And we sit her down for her interview, and I said something about breathing space, which is we had the cameras aligned, and for those of you who do not know, you never set the camera up so that people are doing this because this looks awkward. So you always set them up like this, so there's an open space in front of them. This is called a breathing space. And as I was setting up the breathing space, she goes, "Nan desu ka?" Like that. And I said, "Kono basho wa," and she starts laughing, and she's like, "I should have known better. I don't actually speak Japanese."
Mhm.
It was just very funny. I just switched straight over into Japanese and started explaining breathing space in Japanese. And it was a interesting discussion we had after that because I don't assume anybody speaks Japanese until they speak Japanese. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
and once they do, I start speaking to them in Japanese if that's what they want. Um, but it was an interesting thing. What she had said, and she talked about it in the interview, was her parents didn't speak much Japanese, but they were first generation Japanese immigrants. So they both spoke Japanese to each other and often would say certain key things and phrases to her in Japanese. So she had picked up by ambiance just sort of key words,
Mhm.
And she was messing with me by speaking them to me because I think she was making sort of an ironic statement and then didn't realize that I speak Japanese. So she had no idea. And it was an interesting interchange, sociologically and culturally, an interesting interchange between that one moment because she was just messing with me, but
Mhm.
didn't realize I can reply. And that was an interesting response and an interesting discussion on that one. And so I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, Sand Creek was just, as always, depressing. However, I did post on social media, if anybody has a problem with us changing Mount Evans to Mount Blue Sky, they just need to
Mhm.
go down there and spend a moment or two at the Sand Creek Massacre site. That'll change your opinion real quick.
Yeah, the people who have that kind of problem aren't going to bother because they say it's not worth their time.
Right.
So tell me about the. We'll switch gears. Tell me about the new animated Star Trek shows that I heard about. The two new ones.
I'm hearing rumors about them. None of them are very confirmed yet. So the biggest problem we had was I got big breakouts on that information on Friday. And I have had little to no service all weekend.
Hmm.
So I
Yeah, what
haven't
I've
really had a whole lot of time to read up on it yet.
one looks anime esque and the other doesn't.
So and the thing is that I'm getting information that it's either a comic book or an animated series or both
Mhm.
or neither, or you know what I mean? Like, huh? So let me look it up for you
Sure.
and I'll take a look. Not task. So, uh, so far, yeah, because that's what I saw was Stargazers and Recollection, but those are webtoons. Those aren't animated. That's what I'm
Hmm.
hearing.
Okay.
When you said animated, I was like, maybe I haven't heard something else.
They looked
Um,
animated.
Not well, they're not. I mean, they're
Okay.
webtoons. So, not as a comic artist, I feel loath. I loathe to make a statement about how comics typically aren't considered part of canon, but the comics typically aren't part of canon.
So saying this one will be canonical. Stargazers and Recollections.
Yeah, that's what I keep. I mean, and that's
Okay, so it is digital comics.
yeah, yeah. And like I
I
said,
would, hmm,
I'm loath to say comics aren't canonical. However, typically speaking, they have been saying that they are not canonical. That
yeah.
said, Image has been doing comics that they keep referring back to in the series. So there are canonical moments in the comics. I just have no idea.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I feel very cautious whenever it comes to canon and things like that. For a long time, the books were considered canon, the novels.
Hmm.
Um, and then they decided that they weren't. And so that's that's a thing that I don't know. It's kind of hard to make that call, you know?
Sure. Yeah, I see why I was thrown off because one site's describing it as new Star Trek series, and so the word series, I automatically thought TV series. So, which is probably how they want people to think that, so that way they can trick them into clicking and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's part of the reason why I haven't been pushed
Hmm.
to really go after these that much.
Yeah.
Um, so that's probably a good segue to discuss kind of the world of canon. Because
Okay.
we could talk about that a little bit, canonical versus non-canonical. Because I mean, if you talk about things like The Boys, the comics are canon because
Hmm.
it came from the comics. So the comics are the canon, and the show is not necessarily canonical. You know what I mean? Like if the TV show decided to deviate from the comic books, then we would say, let's just say that in the comics,
But
Homelander's
the
really a
TV
girl.
the TV did deviate.
Yeah.
Just
But
so.
let's say that in the comics, Homelander's a girl or
Uh-huh.
whatever. And in the TV show, Homelander is a guy and whatever. And then you have later on that Homelander had a baby. And so the TV show just decided to skip
Mhm.
over that entire story arc. Right? It
I
didn't make
can
sense.
I can give you an actual example. Stormfront is a guy in the comic and a female in the TV series.
There you go. Exactly. So Stormfront gets pregnant in the TV series.
Hmm.
Um, I'm just making up something in that case. In that case, it
Hmm.
becomes one of those where the books are canonical, and technically speaking, the TV show is not.
Hmm.
And the same thing would go for Walking Dead, right? Same thing. We started with the comic book series and moved on. Um, and it's interesting that Star Trek has had a number of things that have been knocked in and out of canon all over the place. The animated series is a perfect example of that. The animated series was aired for 2 seasons in 1973 and 74, and forever, the animated series was considered non-canon. They just knocked it completely out of canon, and there's no real reason as to why. Um, Gene Roddenberry did not like the animated series for some reason, and it had nothing to do with the series. It had everything to do with something political underneath it that happened. Um, and it was knocked out of canon and until literally until Enterprise, when Enterprise started throwing references to places on Vulcan that were mentioned only in the animated series. Spock's hometown of Shikar was mentioned in the animated series, but was never mentioned in the series. And in the animated series, you see Shikar as having like this city with a round barricade around the outside, and when they showed it in Enterprise, it was a city with a round barricade on the outside, just like it looks in the animated series. And so it's clear that they were making clear references back to the animated series. And then, of course, Lower Decks referenced it 6 Ways to Sunday, and Lower Decks is absolutely canon. So everything that Lower Decks referenced to the animated series became canonized absolutely, and that made the entire animated series canonized. So that's an interesting thing how it was and then was not, and there's all of these weird ins and outs. For the longest time, Gene Roddenberry wouldn't allow one single nacelle warp engine ships. And it was all because he was mad at Franz Joseph, who made a book called The Technical Manual. And in the technical manual, Franz Joseph introduced scout ships, which was just a saucer with one warp nacelle, and destroyers, which were one saucer with one warp nacelle. And so, because of that, Roddenberry changed the rules, so it had to have two warp nacelles seeing each other. Except that now in Strange New Worlds, the single saucer, single warp nacelle design has shown up more than once, which is canonizing Franz Joseph's design. And it's mostly because every Trekkie knows that the only reason it's not canon in TNG is because Gene Roddenberry wanted to stick it to Franz Joseph, and not because of anything else. There's no reason at all. And that's it. And the worst part about the Franz Joseph thing, by the way, is that Franz Joseph didn't do anything. It was just he wrote this book, got permission, wrote the book, put it out there, and because of the contract with the book seller, Roddenberry couldn't get a cut of it. And Roddenberry took that personally. And so Roddenberry decanonized that entire book, except that it shows up in the movies. So if you watch Star Trek 2 and Star Trek 3, after the attack, when the Reliant attacks the Enterprise, they're walking over and pointing at computer consoles and stuff, and on one of the consoles, it's flickering pictures, and the pictures are from the tech manual. So they're showing pictures of this single warp nacelle ships and stuff like that from the tech manual, because they just had it on a video feed, and they were running it on this video screen. And it's funny that unintentionally canonized the book again, right underneath Roddenberry's nose. So I don't know. Canon is interesting to me.
It's also interesting how that you get people who are diehard of you can't do this because of this, and and it can become toxic because if you look at Warhammer 40K,
Yeah.
there's a group of people who are just you can't have female Space Marines because it was written in the canon that this is how Space Marines are made and there are no female Space Marines. And it's like, yeah, but if you look at when it was written versus what we've learned and what people want, then you got to change things for the better. Lord of the Rings, another example of that. We've got a friend who refuses to watch the Rings of Power because of the changes. because it's not canonical.
Right.
So
Because there were no elves of color.
yeah. So wah wah.
Yeah.
You know what's canonical with us?
Though our sponsors, they are in fact
Canonical. I said canonical because of
canonical
reasons. Canadians.
Canadians, not unlike Geek Tank, which is sponsored by Kieran Games, Geekway Homes, and your
Your
mom.
mom, who may or may not be Canadian, I don't know.
We don't know, but we don't judge.
No. Well, not on that.
We judge you though on a lot of other things,
Mm-hmm.
like where is your allegiance to canon?
Mm-hmm. It's like, doesn't bother me. I know that you were interested in. I gotta find it again now that I've misplaced it.
Yep, I'm totally interested in that.
Yeah. The Star Trek from WizKids. They had the larger
Yeah.
ships, and one of their sets is part of a cell that they're doing. So I'll send that to you later.
Okay.
It's the one with the Enterprise D where it comes apart, and then there's the other large ship. But the ships are apparently, I guess, in scale with each other.
Yeah.
Correctly.
Yeah, actually, at the last time I was at the playing Expanse with my friends, they had them. One of the groups has brought them in, so I have now actually seen them. The Dominion cruiser is in there, and it's huge.
Are they good? Is it a good game? Did you get to look at that?
So that's the thing that's fascinating is it looks like they're doing exactly what I've always wanted in a game. It's got a campaign mode where you make characters and the characters survive or don't survive from the game and stuff like that. Like that, when I had made that addition to our game, where I was starting to make it so that you could have characters that survive or don't survive. But
yeah, I did. Did you keep a digital copy of that by chance?
I did.
Good, because I don't know if I did, but Nick is designing something not nearly as complex, but similar that they want to do, running a Warhammer Kill Team thing for friends, where everybody actually has characters that progress through the campaign. And I was yeah, that's why when I saw that, I'm like, I'm sending this to Guy.
Yeah,
but yeah, when I was telling him about what we were doing with our extremely insane, complex version of not Starfleet Battles, but the next iteration of it. What was that called? Commander?
Yeah, it was
Fleet Commander.
Yeah, Attack Wing. Attack Wing.
No, Attack Wing was WizKids.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't listening. I was too busy looking at the thing you sent me.
No, the version that came after Starfleet Battles. I think it was called Fleet.
Oh, Commander. Yeah, it's called FedCom, Federation Commander.
Federation Commander. So yeah, we were designing a massive campaign thing with random roll charts and by points. So you would build your entire armada, and then during the campaign you would divvy up different squads to send off to different locations to explore.
Yeah.
It was really dependent on a referee because we didn't have an app made to cross-reference our moves against each other.
Right. And it was so that was our modified version of it, and apparently that's what this new version does too.
Huh.
So
but it's still competitive.
Yeah, I mean, you still me versus you, but
yeah,
that was, I'm interested in that. But yeah, for this is an interesting price. That's
the others in the series, because it looked like there's at least three others in the series aren't on sale.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's the first hit's free
because
this is the core set, so they're trying to get them out there.
The people who paid that original price are probably like, what?
Yeah, well, I have been not buying things on purpose.
Well, right, you're trying to downsize.
However, I I accidentally got my butt into Traveler 5e. I
Oh,
didn't mean to. Um, so, for those of you guys who are not familiar, Traveler has recently been expanding into all of the different other um, role playing systems. So, there's a Savage Worlds Traveler now, and now there's 5e Traveler coming out. And if you guys are not familiar, Traveler is one of the oldest sci fi role playing games. It started out in I want to say the late 70s, early 80s.
that
Um,
sounds right.
yeah, I I don't know because I didn't start playing Traveler until junior high, which would have been late 80s or and then high school. So high school, actually, I didn't start playing Traveler
Yeah.
until high school because
First,
Traveler was when I was first getting into Shadowrun.
yeah, it's
Um,
first published in '77.
yeah, so Traveler is one of the oldest sci-fi games,
Hmm.
and so they just recently did a backer kit, which is like a Kickstarter for it, and the PDF versions of it were pretty pricey, and I was like, I'll just sign myself up for it, and if it, and then see where my monetary system is whenever we get to that point, but did not realize that the sign up time was going to be while I was in Lamar down near down near Amachi, and I didn't have service, so didn't actually cancel that. So I paid for it. I didn't want to, but I did. It's all PDF, so I'm not that worried. It's just that it was a pricey PDF set.
Are they doing a whole new system?
Yeah.
Because I'm looking over the history, and the original one, the little black books that we're familiar with from originally was a custom system, and
Hmm.
then apparently Steve Jackson got it, and so it was in the group system, and then hero system, and then the D20 system. So it's gone through a lot of iterations.
Systems, sure. No, this is 5e. So
Okay, which makes sense because that seems to be the one that's getting the most
play.
focus and play.
Well, and I don't particularly care for 5e that much. However, everybody knows it.
Mhm.
And so what my thought is, it doesn't matter. Everybody knows 5e. And so I'm not gonna,
Yeah.
it's and so I picked up that one, and a while back I also got in on a couple of other games in their 5e versions. Um, one of them is a Mecha 5e.
Hmm.
So
I'm sure they're going to keep the character generation process because a lot of
that's
that's
famous. For
yeah.
those of you who are not familiar with Traveler, your character goes through a history when you build it. So you roll up its history, and it is famous because there are a number of outcomes of which your character dies. So your character ends up dying before the game starts, and you
Hmm.
have to start all over again. It's a really famous part of Traveler because it was super frustrating. You'd start building this really elaborate, very detailed, very cool character, and then before he gets into the Navy, he's killed in a car accident.
Yeah, yeah.
And
It's
you're
a
like,
training exercise.
yeah,
You're like,
we haven't even started the game yet, and he's dead.
it's like, well, okay.
It was a very famous part of Traveler, and a very
Hmm.
entertaining, famous part of Traveler.
And because it was a
Um,
D6 system, it wasn't that hard to end up there because
yeah,
you just had to get enough of the. It's like ones or sixes, I can't remember consecutively, and then you're in trouble.
yeah, you were in trouble. Very entertaining.
Hmm.
Now, and actually, it's funny because there are people who have taken that and maneuvered with it. For example, my GM for Expanse, we were talking about that, um, and that GM is our age, yours and mine. Actually, he's older than us, so he was a teenager when D&D and Traveler came out. So he was playing that while you and I were still in diapers. So that was the thing. But he and I were talking about that, and he said, we were talking about how famously, because we were talking about this whole system coming out. And he said, yeah, when I used to do that, what we would do is we'd roll it up. And if the character died, then you'd roll a new character whom was related to that character. And that character became part of your lore. So, your best friend was the one that was killed in the car
Mm-hmm.
accident, and that twisted your belief in the world or whatever. Or, it was your mom that was involved in your mom
Your mom.
was involved in that accident, or it was it was your sister or your brother. That way it gave kind of an interesting, not only does your character know this other character, but and he said they had to be really closely related. It
Mm-hmm.
couldn't be, some guy you knew in high school. It was your best friend in high school, because he said because you'd know enough about that person to have known all the stats and everything effectively of it. So seems kind of weird that acquaintance you knew in high school, you knew everything about him. So you had to. So how he kind of did that, and I thought, oh, that's actually kind of clever, So that at least took some of the frustration out. When I played Traveler in the '80s, the character just died, and you pretty much crumpled up the character sheet and threw it in the trash. Like that was,
Mm-hmm.
and it was actually ridiculously frustrating, you know, because you'd spent all this time. And as you well know, I had already started drawing the character at that point. So sometimes character creation takes many days. So I had started drawing the character because, it took 2 sessions to get all of the character creation done.
Mm-hmm.
So by the second session, I had already started drawing the character. I had to throw the whole damn thing out, and that made me mad. Um, and that was because in the '80s we were all kids and didn't do good role playing
Mm-hmm.
etiquette was not good role playing etiquette was not a thing for kids of that age.
Yeah, it's like, hand me your character sheet. Rip, 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 rip.
Right? You're like, really, really. Um, but then I've also heard that there are people who play Traveler where that's just ignored. If the character dies, they didn't die. It was a close call,
Mm-hmm.
and that affects the character, makes them have some trauma around it or whatever, but they're fine. They didn't,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't die in that.
I'm
So,
I feel like it was Dale Kingsmill, one of my favorite YouTubers that does D&D stuff, that had either came up with it herself or was borrowing it from someone else. But she gives credit if it was borrowed from somewhere else. I can't remember for sure. But it was when you took enough damage as a character in D&D, they had a chart that you roll on that had a lasting effect. So you could end up with scars if your health went below a certain
oh,
level. So
hey
there was
Brent,
it,
we're talking
it
about Traveler. Sorry.
in role playing in general now. But it was interesting because it added a little bit more of the realism of the you had 50 hit points and then you went down to 1 hit point and you drank a few potions and now you're fine.
Right.
So in this it would be like you had 50 hit points, you went down to 1 hit point, you recovered, but you now have scars all over your face that didn't heal. Um, so it was kind of a neat little random chart thing that you being a big fan of random charts, I know would appreciate.
I always love random charts, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I like the idea that it would be like, oh, you got the worst possible things, so you would have died, but because this is how you would have died, this is the injury that you recovered from mostly.
Right. Right.
um, so yeah, that's neat that they're bringing Traveler back in that way.
Yeah. Um,
Um, Go ahead.
and this is the all digital version that I got through on the pledge. So I've got the core rules, gears and robots, worlds and vehicles, starships.
Of course.
The thing I was looking at that I didn't quite, because I was after the deck plans. That's the one thing about Traveler that has always been awesome was their deck deck plans. Oh, you're reading Dungeon Crawler Carl's latest book. I haven't finished the Butcher's Masquerade yet. I'm at the last few pages of Butcher's Masquerade, so I'm gonna have to pick up that book since it's out. Apparently, that also came out recently, so I'm reading them all digitally too. So they're all sitting on my Kindle, so that when I move to the next phase of my life, I don't have to worry about having them with me. They will be with me. Um, so, Brent's saying that there's bad weather. Yeah, that was here, and now it's headed over to you. Sorry. Other thing that's interesting on here, though, is that they've also got the STLs for Army squads and player characters miniatures and Starport Security Squad miniatures and Marines miniatures and Navy miniatures. And that's kind of cool, but they're all STLs. So I can print them. That's neat. I'm liking that. I just was not expecting it to hit my bank account, but other than that, I'm pretty excited about it.
That will cost you. Yeah, they're doing the RPG of it, and there's also going to be a card game, which looks Magic the Gathering esque, but I don't know if it's going to be blind packs or just a set that you buy and play the card game.
Yeah. Brent, as of right now, it's actually 13 million.
Is that all?
Yeah. Of 250,000 was what they were looking for. So, yeah. Which has the best picture of Donut. I love Donut. Donut cracks me up. Someday we're going to have a talk about Dungeon Crawler Carl. Because it is pretty seriously entertaining.
Okay, official card game for the series is called Unstoppable, published by Renegade Games. It can be a solo or two-player cooperative roguelike game where you manage an intergalactic blood sport, upgrade abilities, and try to find the stairs before you run out of time. So it sounds like it's going to be a set as opposed to you having to collect it.
9 minutes are left. No, it's not funded yet. Technically.
Everybody could back out and get their money back.
At any minute now. I don't know. Think they're going to make it? 13 million. Oh, this is like a real-time thing. Like I'm watching it in real time right here. 8 minutes 26 seconds left.
It's going to end before the show.
It's going to end before the show.
How exciting.
Yeah. I'm like, that's funny. Well, I didn't realize that I was seeing it live, because Brent mentioned it, and I happened to be on BackerKit because I was checking out my Traveler stuff. And we've gone from 8 minutes to 10 minutes left. Wait, what?
Oh, they're probably doing that thing where
they're overtiming it.
They have the special buys that if each of the extras that a person buys adds more time to extend the time of the campampaigne.
That's interesting.
They were doing that with the latest Zomboid.
Okay.
Zombicide. I get Project Zomboid and Zombicide mixed up in my head because they're too similar. Even though one's a video game and one's a board game. But right. The latest Dead Man's Tales medieval fantasy on the pirate high seas is the new genre that the latest Zombicide's doing.
Right.
So I know you saw the USS Callister for Black Mirror, the first one, right?
I saw the first one. I didn't realize there were two more.
There's one more. There's one more.
No, well, there's got to be two because, I guess there doesn't have to be two. Mm-hmm. But I started watching what I thought was the other episode of it, and it said last time on this, and they're like, we're all gonna die. We died. Oh no, this happened. I'm like, I did not see any of that. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't see any of this in any episode. So
maybe you need to rewatch. Maybe you need to rewatch watch the first episode, because I think you were just forgetting stuff.
Maybe I was.
But yeah, there are only two. I had not watched it for a long time just because I kept pushing it back. But I recently watched it, and I think you'll really like it.
Donut. I'm sorry. I get such a kick out of Donut. Donut's like I don't know. There's something awesome about Donut every time. So, and all the pictures of Donut are awesome. Donut's the cat, not the dinosaur. The dinosaur is Mongo. So anyway, sorry.
It's all right.
So it's a very interesting. I want to see the other. Well, and I'll watch it tonight. I think because I got a couple of more hours of work that I've got to do after this show's over on my comic. So the meatball of the vine monster. Yeah.
They do kind of a little nod to Arena. So.
Oh, okay.
Not a huge nod, but one of those that when you see it, you're like, that's clearly what they're hinting at with this.
Right. 7 minutes left, guys.
Unless somebody messes it up again.
Unless somebody screws it up, they're in overtime mode. 6 minutes and 58 seconds. I don't know why I'm finding this funny, but I am. I don't know. This is geeky. This is about as geeky as it gets. So I think this is fair. Yeah, and I want to see the other one. But that's what stopped me. So anyway, I started watching it, but then I didn't remember that stuff happening in the original episode. So then I was like, maybe what I should do is just go back and rewatch the original episode and see what happened.
Yeah, I think watching them back to back, because I might give them a rewatch.
Yeah, I'll watch them back to back tonight. That gives me 2 hours worth of work, which is about what I need anyway tonight. So that should be fine. That'll be good. And yeah, I like the USS Callister story arcs. Those are that was an interesting idea. 13 million. It's a lot. Wow. And they were looking at only 250,000. Yeah, I'm like looking at that going, well, you made your major goal. So only 6 minutes left, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so
I wonder how crunchy the system's going to be.
I don't know.
30 playable races, massive class roster with iconic subclasses. Rules to make your own classes and races. So
well, yeah, because that makes sense. I mean, I if you've read the books, you understand that it.
This is one of those that if you ran it at a convention, you would either have to provide pre-gen characters or run one session on one day where everybody just makes characters, and then the next day is when they get to use the characters to play.
Yeah. Yeah, but definitely it's the vine monster and meatball. Well, now, okay, so Brent, I'm actually at this point in the book, so don't spoil it, obviously, but they have just gotten to the masquerade. So we're right at the very end of the book at this point. And this actually turns out really good because I think this is the last book before the new book. I'm not 100% sure. I think there's actually one more book after it.
Did you see Jenny D's gender swapped cosplay of Carl?
No.
No. Okay.
But if she didn't have a donut,
she had a donut.
Okay.
Why wouldn't she?
I don't know. She'd have to be barefoot to make it right. That's what's always funny. Which means that she'd be in violation of, it just now. Okay, let's talk about con rule.
Well, she wasn't at a convention. This is on her YouTube channel.
Oh, okay. No, but I was just thinking about this as the con rule problem. It actually cracks me up now. So, okay, it might be weird that she's wandering around in heart boxer shorts, but not a problem. That we've seen far skimpier clothing in in at the con. But the funniest part is you can't actually cosplay Dungeon Crawler Carl
Mm-hmm.
at a con and stay legal because you have to wear shoes. And so, like, I just realized that it would not be a violation for nudity or anything like that. It would be a violation for shoes, which cracks me up.
Mm-hmm.
3 minutes left. All of you people who want to go out there and get involved in the backer kit for Dungeon Crawler Carl, which sounds awesome, actually. The only reason I'm not doing it is I don't need any of these things. I don't need to be carrying stuff. I'm already giving 90% of my stuff away.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying not to gather any more stuff. I'm actually absolutely waffling on the thing that you sent and trying to decide whether I want to do that or not. I mean, that's such a good price. It would be ridiculous for me to turn it away. But on the same token, where am I going to keep them?
Yeah.
Oh, somebody bumped it in overtime mode.
Those jerks.
Yep, 10 minutes left. That's kind of funny.
Here, I'm gonna, in our private chat, I'll post the link so you can see it.
Sweet. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I won't open it right now because
But yeah, she's not,
right here.
because of modesty reasons, it's a top is the hearts and not in boxer shorts. Because she's not that type of YouTuber cosplayer.
Well, no, but I mean he's not. I mean, he's in boxer shorts here. It's not like it's horrible.
No, but I think females need to be more careful with that for their
Yeah, probably.
for their image. I don't know. I know she made an
It's totally fine.
She made an artistic choice, and I like the cosplay she did.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know why I'm arguing with her artistic choice. That sounds just fine to me.
She'll hit you with a sword.
Mm-hmm. It was Brent. Brent's the one who knocked it up one more minute there. I think these guys should give us a kickback. At least some of the artwork of Donut.
Yeah, like they're ever gonna see this.
No, they're not. But it's still funny.
Now, if they wanted to send us a copy of the game for us to live play it, we could do that.
Yep. Or just, Donut saying, "Am I a joke to you, Carl?" There are lines in that book that when I read them, I literally laughed out loud. There have been moments also. So the thing about Dungeon Crawler Carl, there was a moment in the last book where Donut did a specific thing it's this book. Donut did something, and as it started to play out, I literally said, "Oh shit," like in the middle of the night, like because I saw it coming and I knew it was going to happen. And for those of you who are aware, it's that scene where with Lucia Marr and her dogs, for the player stream. Thank you, Brent. Or just join us. You can join us, Brent. You've been known to do that before. Mm-hmm. Join us and play a live stream
Actual
together.
Play.
You could do the GMing, and we'll be ridiculous characters. But yeah, I saw that.
You say that as though GMing's a treat. Some people don't. Some people don't like it.
It's true. That's true. But yeah, then there was another moment where somewhere along the line in the book, something they were doing this whole scene about something that was going on. I'm not bringing up any spoilers, but
yeah,
Donut turns to Carl and says, "Am I a joke to you, Carl?" Mm-hmm. And I'm like, Donut's a joke to everybody. I don't know. Like Donut, I love Donut, so
well,
she cracks me up.
Anyway, not Denver Comic Con
because we're back up to 9 minutes left. Somebody else bumped the project,
so you'll never know.
You'll never know because we're at the end. We're at the end. Mm-hmm. We got to put Brent to bed. It's Brent's bedtime. So, all right. Well,
I was going to mention that the not Denver Comic Con is coming up. I think next weekend after that.
I mean, yeah,
Fan Expo.
Fan Expo.
Yep. It's one of those. So if you're into that stuff, it's coming up soon.
Right. Right. Coolio. Well, that unfortunately is all the time we have for today.
Yeah,
But we'll be back next week with even more random geeky things. And until then, I've been Guy.